Hello, Eduardo. How are you doing?
Very, very good. And you?
I'm doing well too. So, welcome back.
Thanks.
Last time we, last time we chatted was 2 years back when you were getting all set to start your Kellogg journey, and it's been almost 2 years now. Now you're almost about to graduate. You're a second year student. So, how does it feel? What changes have taken place in these 2 years?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot has changed. I've made some important life decisions and career decisions. And so Kellogg really transformed, and the MBA really transformed me. And now I don't want to leave. I have maybe 2 or 3 more months to go. And I really would love to stay more, and I will enjoy every week and every day of my final quarter at Kellogg. But at the same time, I'm very excited for the path and the career I'm taking, and for the life I'm taking. Um, it's really, I think, a transformative experience. I met a lot of amazing people. I have many friendships. I have traveled like crazy, and I've changed my career plans a couple of times, and I am ending up in the tech industry, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I also got married, which was a big thing. Uh,
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. So that wasn't planned originally
Uh-huh.
before the MBA, and it ended up happening. So I think the MBA is a catalyst for change in many different ways. So yeah, 2 amazing years.
Sure. Good to know that. So, for those who have not read your previous interview, would you like to tell something about yourself? Where are you from? What and where did you study as an undergrad?
Sure. So I am Brazilian. I'm born and raised in Sao Paulo, and I studied business during undergrad back in Sao Paulo. At the time, I decided to start my career in marketing, which was my passion. And so I did about 7 years of marketing and product management in the manufacturing industry. And I loved the job, and I loved what I did. But I also felt like I was too focused in Brazil and Latin America, and I wanted to have more exposure to different countries, and I wanted to have a global career. And so for that, the MBA was an unique opportunity to have that global opportunities, and also because I wanted to make some bigger impact in the long run back in Brazil. But for that, I felt like I needed to do something abroad for a while and learn and bring that knowledge and bring um, opportunities back to my country.
Right.
So yeah, that's I think a little bit of my background. Um, so far. Also mentioning maybe a little bit. I came to Kellogg with a one plan of resuming my career in the same industry, but then a lot changed. Then so I'm going to the technology industry. So I'm happy to talk a little bit about that further.
Oh, okay, okay. And looking back, you received admit offers from Haas, UCLA, Yale, and Kellogg with substantial scholarships, but you finally chose Kellogg. How is Kellogg the best school for you? How are you the best fit for Kellogg?
So for me, it was I wanted a collaborative school, as you can see on the choices of schools that I've made and I was admitted to. Um, and but Kellogg was the only one that was not only collaborative and fun, which I think is a hallmark of Kellogg and Kellogg students, but it also had, and those characteristics are usually associated with smaller schools like Berkeley or Yale that have a smaller class that fosters more collaboration. But Kellogg also has the resources of a large school. So we do have a number of programs. The 2Y, or the full-time 2-year MBA, is almost 500 people, plus the triple M's, the 1-year program, the JDs, and then these programs. So there are a number of programs, so that makes Kellogg really large. So you have the resources, a deep pool of resources, like on the career side, on speakers that came to campus, on different classes that are more on niche subjects. So for all of that, you have a lot of resources from a large school, but also the collaborative and fun environment of a small school. And that is only possible at Kellogg because we really care about our culture, and we really select candidates that are aligned with that culture. So that really allows us to have this interesting combination of small school and large school. And in addition, I would say that Evanston and Chicago also mirrors that idea. We have Evanston, where most people live, which is north of Chicago. It's a small city. I bump into friends while I'm in the grocery store or restaurants or bars. My commute is amazing. I go walking to school.
Oh, okay.
And so I have all the benefits of living in a small city. But at the same time, I have Chicago at 30 minutes from now. So we can go to parties, and we can go to amazing restaurants, and we have all the conveniences of a large city nearby.
A perfect mix of small school and big school. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, looking back, what was the most challenging aspect of the application process? What was the challenge, and how did you approach and overcome it? Do you have any advice for the prospective applicants who are facing similar challenges?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, essays were the most challenging piece. I recognize that probably most people say the GMAT. For me, my path was a little bit different. I spent a lot of time on the GMAT, but I was lucky that I had people that advised me to start early for the GMAT. So I did that at the beginning of my career, way before actually applying to business school. So I did spend a lot of time on that, but I knew what I had to do. So I think it was challenging in terms of time, but not in terms of the intellectually challenging, like getting out of my comfort zone and doing things in a different way. While essays were something very different, because I wasn't comfortable at the beginning really getting to a personal level of the stories. I would be much more like writing in bullets on a resume, right? And essays are not about it, are not about just telling stories about like what you've done that is great. It's about really overcoming challenges and getting deep in your personality. So I thought I was doing a great job, in fact, on my essays, and I've spent a lot of time on them. It was about, I think it was June, and then I decided to hire you for one essay only. So I hired you, I think it was for
4 essays, I guess.
Yeah, and so I hired for one, but I started with just one essay for one school because I wanted to double check if I was going in the right direction. And then after your first review, I clearly understood that I was in the wrong path. So I trashed all the things that I wrote in many of the schools, and then we started all over. And then I think I learned a lot through the process. And you taught me how to really get personal and write and which stories to tell and how to tell those stories. So it was an amazing process, but definitely essays were something that required me a lot of getting out of my comfort zone and understanding what it was all about.
Self-reflection. I enjoyed working with you.
Thank you.
So, what's your favorite thing about the program? Could you please share your best experiences in and outside of the class that helped shape your career?
Definitely. Well, there are a lot of things to share, so I'll have to pick a little bit. Otherwise, I'll be talking here for hours and hours.
Right.
But I'll definitely start with the outside of the classroom experiences, because these I think that are the ones that really mattered to me. So big one for me was Global Lab. So Global Lab is a program where students go to a country and they do consulting for a client. Can be a company, can be a government, can be an NGO in different places of the world. And so I did a global lab in Ecuador this past spring break. So
Mhm.
it's a 6 month consulting program, but you get to visit the client, right?
Okay.
And so I did 1 week. I was there in Ecuador. I visited farmers. I visited um, plants of processing food. So basically, I am in a project for improve for the government of Ecuador. That's our direct client. But ultimately, what I do is to help low farmers to increase their income on the cultivation of hearts of palm and golden berries, which grow very well in Ecuador. So having those interactions with farmers and having that interaction with government officials and really understanding what their struggles are, that's where what I enjoy the most, because you can feel that what you learn you can use to make an impact. And in the process, you have obviously a lot of fun with colleagues, and you go to different places, and so that was an amazing experience. And that's, I think, in general, what I liked the most about Kellogg was the opportunities for experiential learning. So getting outside of the classroom. For example, I mean, I'll go quickly through a couple of examples. I did a marketing lab, which is also a consulting for revamping the digital marketing strategy for a large retailer in the US. Um, so that I visited the client a couple of times, and we had amazing faculty supporting our team along the way and providing coaching. We had the support of a consulting company, AT Kearney, as well, for coaching purposes. So we had a lot of support. We had a big challenge, and we had, I think, a big outcome at the end. And so that was, I think, one of the things that I could really realize, that all that I learned at Kellogg was something relevant and impactful to companies. In addition to labs, I did a couple of other things. Maybe another experiential learning I would highlight is the mentorship for undergrad students, Northwestern students.
Okay.
So that has been very, very interesting. So instead of learning about coaching in a classroom, which I did as well, but I was also able to practice that. And so that for me was an amazing way of connecting with people in a deep way. I'm probably continuing that coaching beyond my time at Kellogg.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those personal relationships that you forge, I think, are amazing. In the classroom, I've had amazing classes. Customer analytics is one that I would definitely highlight for those interested in technology and analytics. We have professors at the Wire, which is amazing. There's also the negotiation class that you practice a lot of negotiation with your colleagues, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, but again, really what I thought was transformational was the experiential learning opportunities outside of the classroom.
Great. It's great to know that you had wonderful time at Kellogg. And I was wondering, is there anything you would like to change? Or everything was just brilliant, super outstanding?
Well, I'm not sure how to change it, but I think one thing that everyone or nearly everyone experiences at Kellogg
Mm-hmm.
is the fear of missing out, or the FOMO. And it's because there are so many things going on every week, right? And so you have speakers coming to campus for lunch and learns, for evening sessions. You have a lot of opportunities to be an entrepreneur and working with startups at the garage, the place where the startups at Kellogg are. You have experiential learning classes. You have a lot of fun activities and parties and events. And then there's recruiting. There's so many things going on that it's hard to choose. And I think what happens is that, like, we have a lot of FOMO, and I have a lot of fear of missing out. So like I'm 1 hour in an event, and then I'm another hour in another place, in Evanston or in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it makes you deviate a little bit from the things you want to do, or like you just kind of like want to be everywhere, and you end up being a little bit overstressed and overwhelmed. And so your ability, I think, second year, when you're a second year, you have a better ability of focusing on the things that really matter to you, and managing fun and work, let's say. Because I think at business school, it all it's a big mix. Like you don't have a clear weekend and week. You know, you're like, sometimes you're doing case competitions over the weekend, and then you're having a party on Tuesday. So it's so for all of that, I think helping people to manage anxiety and make choices are something important. And there's an initiative at Kellogg called The Good Life, which help people reflect. And I think it's a very good initiative and help people to calm down and think about the things they really want to get out of their time at Kellogg, and the
Okay.
things they should prioritize, and not be overwhelmed or stressed out with all the things that have on campus. So there are, I think, initiatives to change that in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also, well, let's say, a good problem to have in a way.
So is there anything that you wish you had known earlier before you started your journey at Kellogg? And, can you share some advice to incoming students to help make their adjustment easier?
Yes, definitely. For me, and I think that is true for most international students, and that's not only for Kellogg, but across different schools, which is recruiting. Recruiting is very intense. It starts very early in the process, no matter in which school you are, because ultimately it's the timing for the recruiters, not for the school. And my advice is, first, you need to reflect very early on the things you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I thought naively that I could have 2 years of like reflection of what I want to do, and consider different career paths. And the reality is that you don't have 2 years to reflect, right? You need to spend a couple of months, or maybe the first 2 or 3 months reflecting, and then from there you'll start recruiting for the internship, right? And then the internship is a big, if you're like making a big change in terms of industries and you're international, your internship definitely needs to start to carve the path for your ultimate goal in full time. So that makes even more important that you actually invest some time at the beginning of your MBA reflecting on your career and talking to people and talking to second years, understanding the different choices you have. And then from there, recruiting is very intense, and it takes away a little bit of the MBA experience. So what I would recommend as well for international students is understand the importance of networking in the US, and invest time early on networking really hard, because that will open up amazing opportunities. But if you don't do it, and if you like leave for a later stage in the recruiting process, as I think many internationals do, they don't understand as much. They assume that I assume that the recruiting process was somewhat similar to what I've experienced in Brazil, but that was definitely not the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process that you invest much more time. So for all of that, what I would say is think hard on your goals from start and reflect on what you want to do in the first couple of months. Then dedicate time on recruiting and for networking early on, because that will pay off handsomely later on. And just simply be aware that recruiting will take away a big chunk of your MBA time.
Okay. This is valuable advice, especially for international students. Thank you. So, what are your plans after graduation? Are your goals still the same, or they have changed? That your goals have changed?
Yes, my goals have changed considerably. So originally I was planning to resume my career in Brazil and to resume my career in the manufacturing industry. And my reasoning for that was that my ultimate goal, and that hasn't changed, is to make an impact in Brazil. And that means helping people, and particularly low-income families, to improve. And that hasn't changed, but I realized that if I stay in the US, and if I stay a couple of years in the Silicon Valley, I'll be much more equipped to bring skills that could to start even a startup or a tech company in Brazil that can really drive growth and job creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, I decided to stay in the US. I interned at Cisco for my internship for the summer, and I will resume my career there as a product manager. And I want to spend, thank you. And so I want to spend a couple of years in the Bay Area and in Silicon Valley, learn a lot, and from the different big trends that are happening in the valley. And then from there, I'll be equipped to go back to Brazil and make the impact that I wanted originally. Anyway, so yeah, that's I think pretty much it. But it's a big change for me, and I'm very excited for it.
Wonderful. So your long-term goals are same. Eduardo, is there anything that I haven't asked and you would like to share with the viewers, with the prospective applicants?
Yes. So I think my big piece of advice for anyone starting an MBA is come with an open mind. I think there's most people that really are, well, if you come with an open mind, you'll take advantage of opportunities on a whole different level. So that means, for example, in your career, you might have a plan, and I think it's good to have a plan from day one, but really take a step back when you come to campus and talk to people, talk to second years, talk to people that have tried different areas and different industries and roles, and take classes for professors that are simply awesome professors, and they will inspire you for different directions. So I had a class on finance that really I was impressed, and I'm not a big finance guy, but at some point I even considered a career in that because that professor is so inspiring, right? And so having
the professor?
Yes, it's David Matza. He's a finance professor with a couple of classes. I did finance 2 with him, and but he's just one example. There are a number of professors that will inspire you, no matter what your interests are at Kellogg. So come with that open mind for your career. For the types of people you meet, you probably have. I think it's only natural that you tend to maybe be in a community that's already some, like the folks, like if you like marketing, that you'll be in more in the marketing community, or if you like social impact, or from the people from your country, but really try to break free of those groups and work in different, like working in clubs or participating on events. These are all opportunities, I think, of breaking free of those, let's say, closed communities. And from those different perspectives, you learn much more, and it will take you into unexpected paths. So final piece of advice, come with an open mind, and be ready for new things, for trying different things, because that's really the time you have to come and learn. The MBA is not an opportunity for you to be completely focused in academics. Academics is something important, but it's probably, I would say, a small piece of the overall big picture of the things that you want to learn while in an MBA.
Wonderful advice. Anything else that you would like to share? Like any clubs that you especially liked?
Well, for me, I think one thing that I learned at Kellogg is I think many applicants come with an MBA to the MBA with an idea of leading a club, and that's like one way you can impact your community, but that's definitely not the only way. I think in terms of, like, there are many ways. If you want to have experiences or leadership experiences, there are many ways you could do that. Also, if you want to contribute to the community, which I think it's ultimately what being joining the club is all about, there are different ways you can do it as well. So I think if you want to lead a club, or if you want to join a club, or whatever initiative you want to do, you should have a vision of something that you can contribute to your class and to your colleagues and to the community as a whole. And if you find that sweet spot of having a particular set of skills and an opportunity to contribute, that's where you should choose. And that can be a club leadership, that can be something else. in my case, I wanted to have a mentorship experience, and that's why I've been coaching Northwestern University undergrads.
Mhm.
And I've learned a lot from that experience, and I think I was able to give a lot to those undergrads. I've also been a reader for the Kellogg admissions process. So basically, students, they read. There are students at Kellogg that are trained to read the applications, in addition to a number of other reviewers, including the Office of Admissions. But we do contribute to the process, and I believe that I bring some experience that is helpful in that sense to better evaluate candidates, to not or to control and limit my biases, and really have an open mind when evaluating candidates. So these are a couple of examples, maybe a final example of the things you can do and the things that were meaningful to me. Was giving back to the broader Chicagoland community. So I provided consulting for an NGO called Dream for Kids in Chicago. And
Mhm.
so I have helped to improve their program and their plan for growth, for providing support for K to 12 students. And that was something, so I was a project leader in that sense, and I felt that I could really contribute to that. And that was deeply connected to my past experience
Yeah,
in NGOs related to education. So you might remember. So
yeah,
this
I
is,
remember that. In fact, I
and
was going to ask you to share your voluntary experience in Brazil. That was significant contribution.
yeah, and that was something that, so I've done a couple of years of NGO in Brazil, focused on education, different NGOs, but that has been my passion, and I found an opportunity to continue that contribution, but in Chicago. So finding those types of opportunities that really fit with you, and make you contribute in a unique way, I think that's the most important thing when you think about clubs, when you think about all the opportunities that you have beyond the classroom for impacting the community, and giving back to the community.
True, very true. Thank you, Eduardo, for sharing your story with us, your Kellogg experience with us. I'm sure your insights and valuable advice will be very, very helpful to the prospective applicants, especially to those who are applying to Kellogg, because your advice was not only for MBA applicants, but also for applicants who are aspiring to join Kellogg. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Bono. And I would encourage everyone, obviously, to apply to Kellogg, and I am happy to chat. I think you probably have some links to my LinkedIn profile. So I'm happy to chat about Kellogg, and talk about our culture on a personal basis if anyone is interested. I think it's an amazing school. I have a wonderful time, and I'm happy to share that experience with whomever is interested. And obviously, thanks for your support as well, and for making this possible. We
thank
had
you.
an amazing time together, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It was my privilege to work with you, and I really enjoyed chatting with you today. And, thank you, and best of luck for your personal and professional life in your post Kellogg career.
Thank
Best.
you.
I have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.